Sometimes leadership, you're on the edge of a moment. You see where it needs to go. Everything's not perfectly clear, but you have to trust yourself. And people are going to be watching. People are going to have pressures on you, but it's okay that you still go forward. Welcome to the Confident Podcast. I am Lisa Tarkington, your guide to mastering confidence and leadership. As a business and leadership coach, keynote speaker, and a visionary behind Lead, I am here to equip you with the confidence, clarity, and strategy to create game-changing results so that you can step into your power as the person you're meant to be. If you press play today, it's because you're ready for something bigger. We're going to have real and raw conversations that will help you redefine your leadership and reclaim your confidence. This isn't just another podcast, it's your journey that we're on together. So buckle up and let's dive into this transformation. Your next level awaits. Hi, everybody. Welcome back for another episode of the Confident Podcast. I am your host, Lisa Tarkington, and we have a great episode today. A little bit different than what we've been doing recently. Actually, I feel like we're always changing things, always evolving, and always making moves with what we do. But today is really going to be about how to trust yourself, how there's adventures in life and leadership, and all of the things in my life that leadership has taught me, which has been a ton over the years. And so I want you to picture yourself and think about a moment that you've been at the edge of something, okay? Your heart is pounding, maybe your palms are a little sweaty, and you know that you have to make a big decision. And sometimes that means you have to be the first to do something. And for me, that has happened so many times in my career and many of the people that I coach, where you're the first one. You're trying to maybe get something off the ground. Maybe there's change management. You're not always following, but you're leading. Maybe you have an idea of what you want to see happen differently, like all of these things. And what I've learned through this whole experience of maybe being the first, maybe with leadership or anything, is that there isn't always a map, okay? I'm a big hiker. I'm a big adventurist. I'm also one of those people that's like, I watch movies and I watch the end of the movie to know the ending, and then I watch the full movie so that I can like make sure like I'm happy with the ending. Yes, that is me. I love to know the ending. But what I have learned over the years and through leadership and everything is that you don't always know the ending. You don't always know where you're going, and sometimes you have to take that leap. And so today what I figured we would do is I would share with you guys some of the biggest adventures that I've had and how it shaped me as a leader, some of the scary moments in my life, but also like what I have noticed about myself is that adventure has kind of been the pivotal moments of my whole life. And adventure can be looked at as good, as hard, as all the feels. And so let's dive into many experiences, and I hope that you take away some really cool moments to really help you take leaps in leadership and in life, to help you know that you're not alone, and to just kind of feel the feels sometimes when it comes to trusting your own self. So the first story. So what I wanted to start out with when it comes to taking the leap and being the first is that for me, it was about 2 years ago now, my husband and I decided that we would travel to New Zealand. And one of the things that we had said that we would do is we would go bungee jumping. We wanted to make sure that we both checked that off of our list when we were looking at something to do. And I remember being like, yeah, let's do it, like super, super pumped. And then I'll never forget getting there. Our hands, like they had to like put markers on it. They kept checking it. And we were the first ones there for the day. Like we were on a bus, but like we were the first ones who got like on the ramp to go over. And so we're standing in this like little holder, and it's taking us to where we're going to bungee jump. And I am just staring down at a whole empty area of a mountain. And I remember my knee started to shake. I think that they locked up a little bit, and I like had to get down a little bit. Then there's my husband who is leaning over with his phone taking photos. And I'm like, get back in, like freaking out. And so we get to the spot. We're both like already in some of our gear, and they go, okay, who wants to go? They wanted my husband to go first. And we both agreed that I would go first instead. They were very, very great with that for us. And I remember them strapping me in. I'll never forget this, strapping me in and telling me all of these things. And guess what? I didn't listen to anything that they had to say. My mind was just thinking about, how am I going to do this? Can I do this? What if I freak out? What if I do this wrong? Like, I had all of the self-doubt coming out inside of me. And I remember standing on the edge, holding on to the guy behind me, and I wouldn't let go. And he looked at me and he's like, you have to let go. You can't take me with you. And I just was like, okay. And he's like, just trust yourself. And so I jumped. And I remember so well being mid-air, just flying. And I had to pull a strap so that I changed my position. And I just flew in the air. And I remember being so happy in that moment. So happy. And that really hit home for me because I realized I took the leap. I went first. Was I scared? Yes. Did I afterwards think very many questions inside my head of how did you do that? Still to this day, I get butterflies thinking about jumping, right? Because it is scary. I had to trust myself. I had to trust the ropes. I had to pull my own lever, all of these things. But when I think about leadership and how that comes into play is that sometimes leadership, you're on the edge of a moment. You see where it needs to go. Everything's not perfectly clear, but you have to trust yourself. And people are going to be watching. People are going to have pressures on you, but it's okay that you still go forward. I'm going to tell you that it's not about eliminating the fear. The fear is always going to be there. It's always going to kind of get us stuck sometimes. But when you move forward, it is a game changer and you have to have the confidence within yourself. So courage isn't the absence of fear. It's deciding to take the leap even when fear is loud. Again, when I was on that piece of wood, really, and I'm jumping out, I was so proud of myself for trusting myself. And I was very proud of myself for going first. And I was very proud of myself for many things. And so when I think about life and leadership when it comes to a bungee jumping is you don't have to be a good leader and jump, right? Out of and be in gear for bungee jumping. But you do have to set the tone. You do sometimes have to go first. And even when you don't have all of the answers, but one step forward is a game changer. So another story. So I, again, love adventure. So I decided when I was 23 years old that I would take my little brother, who was 21 at the time, for his birthday, I would take him skydiving. Yes, my mother was probably very proud of me for doing that, right? But I remember him flying down. I lived in Texas at the time, and we were okay, let's go skydiving to celebrate this. And so we were going through a class. You had to go through a class. And I remember us getting our the gear on. I had to be connected to a guy behind me, and we're in this little puddler of a plane. And my brother, they were asking us okay, who's going to go first? And well, obviously I'm the older sister, so of course I'm going to go first, right? And I remember this moment when they were telling us you're going to have to pull your own chute. So I knew that I was going to have to pull back and pull the chute so that it came out. And I remember standing outside the plane. So the guy that was connected to me to fly was in the plane and my feet are dangling. And in that moment, I can tell you right now, I did not want to jump. I did not want to jump. I was not ready. But I did it anyways. And I remember halfway through pulling what he asked me to pull. And I remember just gliding down. I remember getting to the ground. I was probably kissing the ground at the time because I was just completely scary. I still have my heart racing thinking about how did I even do that, right? But I share that other example because it is thrilling, it is crazy, it is scary, but I'm so glad I took that step. Because I can tell you right now, I could have said to the guy, take me off, take me out, get me back into the plane, right? I could have continued to pull back. But I had to trust myself to know, you know what, take the risk. And if it doesn't go, if you don't land perfectly, if this doesn't go perfectly, it is going to be okay. And so we also have to think about how leadership, often has to be a model of courage, taking that first step, going first. It isn't about being the bravest person in the room, but it's about knowing that like, hey, I'm going to take the leap. Hey, I'm going to lead first. Let's come along and let's figure this out so that we can all transform. It's about trusting your parachute, right? Trusting your systems, your people, preparation that you've built around you, and knowing that like it's not always going to be perfect. I don't know anybody who's ever been in a role of leadership and then everybody under them is perfect. Like, I don't know anybody that has that. And they're not perfect as a leader too. I was just talking to someone about this the other day. Like, there are many things in my career that I wish I had the skill set then because now I'm like, okay, that makes sense of how I should have shifted that. And so when you think about your own roles and thinking about that, it's like, how are you though leading and trusting yourself, standing up for yourself and letting like you be that first one? Because I will guarantee you it was really, really important that I went before my brother when we were skydiving so that he could see it, so that he could be like, okay, she could do it. Now I can do it. So if you've been listening to this podcast for a long time, you know that I love AG1. I start my mornings off with it every day. But one of the cool things that I've added into my routine is adding AGZ to the end of my day. And it's been a game changer. It's a nightly drink that helps me wind down and rest without any melatonin. I love mixing it with warm water. It's calming. And sometimes I do it when I'm reading a book at night or just chilling, hanging with my husband. It's packed with things like magatin, magnesium, and saffron ingredients backed by research to help your body relax and support real quality sleep. And the best part is I wake up rested and not groggy, which is so, so key for me, especially with my busy days. So again, if you are ready to take the next step to help you with stress and focus more and really get some good rest, as you guys know that's really important to me too when it comes to my self-care, go to drinkag1.com/theconfident to get a free frother with your first purchase of AGZ. Again, that's drinkag1.com/theconfident. I would love for all of you to check it out. It has been a huge piece of my life. As you know, AG1 in the morning is important to me, but now I get to end my nights with it as well. You know, another example is before I met my husband, I would go on a lot of adventures myself. I would travel all over the place, and a lot of it revolved around hiking. And so I'll never forget being in Colorado. I wanted to hike a 14er, which is usually like a good solid hike and lots of miles. And you have to usually start in the morning and then you're not finished till later. And I remember driving up to one of them, and I was like, okay, we're going to do this. My gear was not packed correctly. It started to snow. I was not warm. I didn't even have a map. There was no service. Like, I can tell you, I had no preparation when it came to this. And I remember getting halfway up the mountain and being like, I like totally caught the time wrong. Like, everything just like wasn't working out. And so I decided, you know what, let's turn around and let's go back. And I looked at the trails, and mind you, there wasn't like this perfect trail to just kind of go up. The trail was kind of made by like some that made sense, some I was climbing, some rocks, all the things. And I remember perfectly like standing there being like, I don't know how I'm going to get down. I will never forget that. I couldn't find the trail. I got lost. And I was so scared. And I remember I was up high and I knew where I needed to get down to. And I knew that I was going to have to slide on my butt. I was going to have to jump to get to where I needed to go because I had like somehow like got lost in the trail. So I jumped from one like rock to another rock. And then I slid on my butt with all these rocks and snow to get down. And I just remember in that moment, my heart is racing. I am so scared and I'm so nervous. I'm like, what did I do to myself? And I landed on both of my feet and I made it back to my car. Sure, did it take longer than I wanted? Yes. Do I wish I would have prepared more? Absolutely. I was a very big free spirit when it came to hiking, and now I would say that I'm a little bit more prepared than I used to be. I'm also married to a guy that loves adventure, so it's a little bit different too. But I did not have a clear map. I was not prepared. I got scared along the way. I turned around. But what that all taught me is that it's just sometimes the next right step. I wasn't prepared. I didn't have all the things that I needed to. That was my bad. I should have become more prepared. So again, that's a lesson. Like, how do you prepare yourself for things? It wasn't going to be perfect, but how could I have helped myself a little bit more? And then also taking that leap down. I knew I had to turn around. I knew I had to pivot. And so it's okay, because I needed to get back to my car to feel safe and secure again, because up there I wasn't feeling that way. And so when you think about leadership and life, it's okay if you pivot. It's okay if things don't go the way that you wanted, but it's about moving forward to really grow in those areas and know, like, okay, what do I do next to make it better? How do I take that one next step forward? And how do you never give up on yourself? So that is what I've learned from the hiking experience. I will tell you, I'm a way more prepared hiker. It has helped me so much with life and leadership about what you put in your backpack, what you carry, what do you need to unpack, and then how do you help yourself get to the next level? Okay, next story. So surfing. So I remember like talking about doing a lot of things solo. Is I decided to go to Ecuador for a retreat, and what caught my eye to do it was that I knew I'd go surfing. I really, really, really wanted to learn how to surf. And so I remember this was a time in my life where I was on the verge of burnout, hardcore. I'd gained a ton of weight. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sleeping. Like, you name it, I was feeling. I'll just be honest. And I knew I needed this retreat. And so I remember going like a little heavier, a little bit more out of shape than normal, and thinking that I was just going to be able to get up and surf very quickly. And we had trainers who were with us. So I surfed for a whole week straight. Every day I had people teaching me lessons, pushing my surfboard, helping me, learning all of the things. And I remember the fourth day, I had so much salt water in my eyes. I couldn't breathe. My body hurt. I was aching, and I was barely standing up still. And I just remember being like, I am so defeated. I felt so defeated that I just went inside. And I kind of was upset at myself because of my burnout. I was upset at myself for not taking care of my body. I was upset that I wasn't getting off the surfboard and getting up and being able to get a wave. And so I decided instead I was just going to go for a run. And I remember trying to clear my head because I was so frustrated that it was taking me so long to get where I needed to go. And I remember those moments. I remember exactly how I was feeling in that moment. And the next day I remember telling myself, you got to try it again. I didn't want to. I was tired. I was very tired. I was sick of falling. I was sick of this. I got hit by my surfboard, all the things. And that one day was a game changer because I got up on my surfboard. And I have one photo of me doing that. I have a little wave. And I look back at that moment and I remind myself, you just had to get yourself back up every day. And every time you got pushed down, every time the wave kicked your butt or the surfboard hit you in the head, you got back up. Fast forward, me and my husband were in New Zealand doing surfing together. We took another lesson and then we went out on our own. And I'll never forget, that was I was way more mentally steady because I had already done it. I did not hit the waves still like I'd want to. I don't actually know how people do it because I am very impressed. It is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And I remember still a surfboard hit me in the head. I kept getting back up and I got a few little waves. But what I would say about leadership in life is that I learned so much that first time. So the second time I did it, it was not riding a bike, but it was similar. I knew how to do it and I was more prepared. I was more fit. I was more mentally there. I knew the steps, right? And so while it didn't work out the first time perfectly, I learned more the second time. The second thing is I always got back up. And that is what I would say with adventure when it comes to life and leadership is things are going to kick your butt. Things are going to be hard, but how are you getting to that next level is going to be very, very important. And so that has been for me one of the biggest learning abilities when it comes to adventure is How do you push forward when things aren't always perfect? Now, another story is that life isn't always easy. This isn't about hiking. This isn't about surfing. But sometimes in leadership, we have to make hard decisions. And so maybe that's you're sitting across from someone and you're giving feedback. Maybe you've made an error and you need to own it. Maybe you're saying no to a big opportunity because it doesn't fit. Maybe people want something for you, but you don't want it yourself. Those are hard. It's hard to look in the mirror and ask yourself, what do you want? Not what does everybody else want, but what do you want? The other thing too is that sometimes we have to give the feedback that we don't want to give. Sometimes we have to stand up for ourselves, even though everybody in the room is telling you a different story. And so what I have learned about all the adventures in life is that it's just one step forward. It's not always going to be perfect, but it's about taking that one step forward, even though like the path might not always be perfect, because I am type A. I love the perfect plan to know where I am at the end. I've shared with you guys earlier on this episode that I like to watch movies or shows and watch the end, the last 10 minutes to know what happened before I watch the movie, because that is how much I don't like to not know. Okay. But what I've learned about adventure and life and things is like, that is where the fun happens, is the journey. It's the journey. It's understanding like that it doesn't have to be all like bungee jumping adventures, but there's adventures in life. You know, for me, I also have had many moments where I've had to take leaps. I've left a corporate job to run a nonprofit. I've ran a nonprofit. I've built that. I also am a coaching keynote. And through all of that, life has been an adventure. I've shared with you guys, I've gotten married. I've changed my name. I've changed my nonprofit's name. I've changed my roles. I've changed as a person. We've bought a new house. I had a baby. Life has been full of change and adventure. So first, it's about sometimes in life, we have to have the hard conversations, give the hard feedback, look in the mirror and own all of our mistakes. You know how much I've had to own in the last couple of years of my life? And I am so happy that I have the awareness to say like, I messed up here versus throwing it at other people and blaming other people. That is a no. You have to own what you have done and be okay with taking that next step, owning it and moving forward. Same thing happens when it comes to change in life. There is going to be change for the rest of our lives, but is it about the adventure? It's about the journey. And if you want everything to be perfect, I'm just going to give you a news flash right now. Like that is not a thing. That is not a thing. It will never be perfect. And you have to be okay with that. The more that you can set your mindset, the more that you can know that life is an adventure, it is going to be a game changer. And so that is what I've learned is how do I trust the process, enjoy the process, and be okay when things aren't always perfect. And I will tell you, as I've gone through transitions, people are like, well, I want the game plan. And I want to help them. I want to give them the game plan, but the game plan sometimes changes. And when do you make sure that you're communicating that? When do you bring people along for the journey? All of these things are really important when it comes to life and leadership because we can't just freeze. We need to take the leap. We can't just wait for the map to be perfect. Sometimes we have to trust our own compass. And the truth is confidence isn't just built in the leap. It's built let me rephrase that. Confidence is built in the leap, not before it, okay? Sometimes we have to trust the skills that we have, trust ourselves, you know? And so I want to end this podcast asking you something. What are you doing right now in adventures with your life? Maybe what are you standing at an edge right now and you need to make the next step? What are you not owning that you need to start to own? What would happen if you started to trust yourself? What if you just took that leap? And the leap doesn't have to be bungee jumping or skydiving or leaving your job. It is literally just a leap to the next step of your life. Because I will promise you, every decision that I've made, you have this like relief as well when it comes to it. So I'd love for all of you to think about what is the adventure and the story and the journey that you want to have, because people will always tell you what you need to do. But I want you to start to think about what works best for you. So thank you so much for tuning in to today's podcast. As I always say, continue to spread love and kindness to everybody that you meet, and have a great day. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Confident Podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, head over to leadconfidently.org for today's show notes along with discounts to our services. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and follow us on Instagram and YouTube at The Confident Podcast. Your feedback means the world to me, and it helps more people discover the show. And hey, if you're feeling inspired to dive deeper, let's connect. You can find me on Instagram at Lisa Tarkington Official. Drop me a message and let's explore how I can support your journey to confidence and leadership. Remember, you have the power to choose confidence every single day. Keep showing up, keep striving, and keep believing in your potential. I'm cheering you on, and I'll see you next time.